On the morning of February 19th, 1945, over 30,000 US Marines landed on a jagged stretch of volcanic rock known as Iwo Jima. Among the first to hit the beach was a man who didn't need to be there. A man who had already done more than his fair share. Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone. A Medal of Honor recipient, a hero of Guadalcanal, and perhaps most remarkably, a man who gave up safety, comfort, and fame to return to the front lines. In 1943, Basilone became the first enlisted Marine in World War II to receive the Medal of Honor. At Guadalcanal, under withering Japanese fire, he held his position for 2 nights, repairing jammed machine guns with blistered hands, hauling ammunition across open ground, and holding off a Japanese regiment. At least 38 enemy soldiers fell to his fire. As a result, he was sent home to support the war effort and received a hero's welcome. War bond tours, parades, magazine covers. But he didn't feel like a hero. He felt uneasy about being paraded around while other Marines were still fighting and dying in the Pacific. He wanted to return to his boys, where he could actually do some good. He turned down an officer's commission, refused a desk job, and in late 1944, his request was finally granted. He returned to active duty. Basilone joined the newly formed 5th Marine Division, training for the invasion of Iwo Jima. And when the time finally came, he personally requested to go with the young, untested Marines, because he believed they would need experienced leadership in battle. John Basilone and his men stepped off their Higgins boat into complete chaos. Pre-sighted Japanese artillery and mortars rained down from Mount Suribachi. Interlocking machine guns swept across the black sand like invisible sights. The thick volcanic sand swallowed boots and equipment whole. There was no cover, just the enemy buried deep in hidden positions, waiting for the perfect shot. As leader of a machine gun section in Company C, 1st Battalion, 27th Marines, Basilone immediately began taking control. Private First Class Chuck Tatum, under Basilone's command that day, later recalled, "He was moving up and down the line like he didn't have a care in the world, telling guys to keep moving, get off the beach. He wasn't yelling, he was calm." With his helmet low over his eyes and a belt-fed .30 caliber in his hands, Basilone led his machine gun section from the surf, straight into one of the deadliest kill zones on Iwo. A Japanese concrete blockhouse, impervious to artillery, had pinned down an entire platoon and was pouring fire onto the beach. Crawling up under fire, Basilone coordinated with demolitions men, flamethrowers, and his machine gun section. He guided their every move under fire until the strong point was neutralized. He then immediately led the charge across the open sand. Tatum recalled, "He sprinted ahead alone towards the knocked-out pillbox, and then gunned down Japanese soldiers as they ran from the burning bunker, like it was nothing." Continuing the momentum, Basilone led his section toward Airfield Number 1, a primary objective. There, they encountered a disoriented Sherman tank stuck in a heavily mined area. Knowing how critical armor was in the early stages of the invasion, and how difficult the terrain was to navigate, Basilone physically guided the tank forward, 1 foot at a time, signaling to the crew while enemy fire poured in. As a team, they continued to clear paths through fields of fire, booby traps, and hidden Japanese positions, until they reached the southern edge of the airfield. Then Basilone paused, turned to Tatum, and gave his final order: "Hold this position, come hell or high water." Then he disappeared back into the smoke, heading towards the beach to bring up more men. But he never returned. Basilone had been at the forefront of the assault at all times. He pushed forward through overwhelming enemy fire with dauntless courage and iron determination, until a Japanese mortar exploded beside him. Shrapnel had struck him in the groin and lower abdomen, causing massive internal bleeding. The indomitable John Basilone died within minutes of the blast. It wasn't until later, when Tatum and the rest of the unit regrouped, but they found Basilone's body lying motionless on the black sand. His helmet was tilted, but all his gear was still strapped to him. Nobody said anything, but you could feel it. Something changed. It felt colder that day. 28-year-old Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone died the way he lived, out front. Not in a newspaper, not behind a microphone, but in the sand surrounded by the men he'd helped off that hellish beach. His death came within the first hour of the landing, and only a few hundred yards from the shore. But his actions helped crack some of the deadliest strong points on that beach, allowing the advance to continue. John Basilone didn't need to return to war. He had just gotten married. He could have lived a completely different life. But something in him, honor, loyalty, duty, wouldn't let him stay behind. For his actions at Iwo Jima, he was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross, making him the only listed Marine in World War II to receive both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. The nation remembers him as a war hero. The Corps remembers him as a Marine's Marine. But the men who followed him in the battle, they remembered a man who led by example to the very end.